think taking guns away will save our kids from the killings, but you're pro-choice. Abortion kills way more children. If America's so terrible and racist, it probably isn't safe to encourage immigration. Just saying, all the contradictions are embarrassing. You know who hates America the most? Americans. Trigger warnings used to be on TV for seizures, and now they're everywhere to protect millennials' feelings. He, she, his, him, hers, them, they. Screw a pronoun, cause everyone's a retard these days. Here preaching at the protest that hatred's the problem, but hating straight men, white folks, and Christians is common. Coca-Cola telling people they should be less white. They preach intolerance, but if you disagree, they fight. There's a race war here, elections based on fear. Black lives only matter once every 4 years. Soldiers died for this country, and every one of us benefits. Give welfare to the bums and forget about the veterans. Black folks and white folks divided by the news, but we are all the same. We are red, white, and blue. Ashamed to be American? Okay, that's cool. Cause honestly, we are all ashamed of you too.
Y'all are so fake. Oh no. The forecast said that there'd be snowflakes. Whoa. You can make us see it your way. No way. Gasoline and propane. More flames. Oh no. No more snowflakes.
They set us up to fail, that's what they built the system for. Put an ammunition shop across the street from a liquor store. Empowering women used to be different than this before. The role models got OnlyFans or dance on a stripper pole. Screw it, I ain't tripping, I don't mean to be mean, but if our children are the future, then our future is bleak. They take an Adderall to focus, hit McDonald's to eat. They're addicted to phones and they take Xanax to sleep. They blurred the lines dividing communism and democracy. In 2021, we paint the patriots as Nazis. The men playing women's sports get trophies for winning. Like great, let's celebrate a man for beating some women. If you're black, your life matters, you're supposed to embrace it. If you're rich or you're smart, then you're probably Asian. If you're gay, then you're brave, all of that I'm okay with. But if you're white, the stereotype is you are a racist. Blaming capitalism like that's the reason things are tough. While you tweet from an iPhone and sip on a Starbucks. You're supporting what you stand against, you don't think you are, but a Percocet addict don't donate money to pharma. Damn dog, we're all afraid to speak the truth. And the more afraid we get, the more we hate the ones who do. You're ashamed to be American? Okay, that's cool. Cause honestly, we are all ashamed of you too.
Y'all are so fake. Oh no. The forecast said that there'd be snowflakes. Whoa. You can make us see it your way. No way. Gasoline and propane. More flames. Oh no. No more snowflakes.
You all get along, but there's no stopping. Ay, everybody's wrong, it's a real problem. Ay, they don't want to hear it, but they still talking. Ay, soon enough, we running out of options. Ay, this ain't gonna end till it's in the coffin. Ay, we ain't gonna be friends till we try to squash it. Ay, I don't know how we can make amends or we drop it. Snowflakes melt when it's hot, kid.
Y'all are so fake. Oh no. The forecast said that there'd be snowflakes. Whoa. You can make us see it your way. No way. Gasoline and propane. More flames. Oh no. No more snowflakes.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Smack Talk Live. I am Coach. Solo tonight. No Lone Wolf, who's feeling under the weather. So I will be all by myself tonight for this edition. We're going to start out right now just talking Julio Jones and what I guess my reaction to that trade is. I think the Falcons did a great job facilitating this trade. I think if they would have been willing to trade him to a contender in the NFC, they probably could have got a first-round pick. But they didn't want to trade him there because if they would make the playoffs, then they'd have to play against him. So I think that was a big reason he ended up in the AFC with the Titans. Now, as for the Titans, does this really help them? Essentially, Julio Jones is replacing Corey Davis, who left in free agency. The Titans are a run-heavy offense. They aren't going to throw the ball. Ryan Tannehill is a nice quarterback, but he's a limited quarterback. I don't see him as a top-tier quarterback that's going to be able to distribute the ball around the field like Matt Ryan could. Or if he would have went to Baltimore or New England that are going to be more pass first oriented offenses. So I'm not sure really how much of an impact Julio Jones is going to have on the Titans, except he is a deep threat for them. They are still going to be run oriented. They were the favorite to win that division anyways, unless Carson Wentz becomes that Carson Wentz of old, his first couple of years in the league. That should be the Titans division to lose. Now, does this make them Super Bowl contenders? No. And in my opinion, it does not make them Super Bowl contenders. You still have the Chiefs. You still have the Bills. You still have the Browns. You still have the Ravens. Does it make them better? Maybe. A little bit. But it doesn't make them great. It does not give them enough offensive firepower to win that conference. And on top of that, it still doesn't address a porous defense that ranked at the bottom of the league all year long. And they didn't really do much to address it. Yes, they brought in Bud Dupree, who's coming off of a season-ending injury, but they let some other guys go. So unless they can address that defense side of the ball, I really don't see them challenging anybody in the AFC to go to the Super Bowl. But like I said, I good trade for the Falcons. They need to do that. They needed to start moving on and kind of getting younger, retooling that offense and that team in general to move into the next era. The next guy to go is going to be Matt Ryan. They're going to look for a new quarterback, and we'll see what they do there. Matt Ryan, I think, is a nice quarterback. He has a couple years left, but they will eventually move on from him here, I would say, in the next year or two, and really just retool that entire organization. So that is my opinions on Julio Jones. Moving on to the we're going to go into the NHL playoffs first, because the NBA playoffs, there's a game going on right now where we're in the second round, and it was funny, because everybody kind of gets in a panic when teams drop down to 0-2 in any type of playoff series in any of the leagues, the NHL, NBA, Major League Baseball. An 0-2 hole is not the end of the world. You have to remember, a lot of times you were on the road those first two games, and when you're on the road in the playoffs, it's hard to win on the road. So, if you don't have that home advantage, you have to steal it on the road. Well, the Las Vegas Knights, they fell down 0-2 to the Avalanche, and they are now up 3-2 in Game 6 and have a 2-1 lead in the second. So that is quickly turning into a very interesting series in the second round in the West. The Golden Knights are, I guess, my team. Anybody really from Vegas I root for, because that's my second home. But it'll be, the Avalanche and the Knights are probably two of the best teams in the league. So we'll see how that game progresses. The next series, we're going to flip over to the East with the Boston Bruins versus the New York Islanders. And right now, you have the Bruins have a 2-1 series lead. Wait, no, I'm sorry. Yeah. The looks like the Islanders won that series. So the Islanders have advanced. You have the Hurricanes versus Tampa Bay Lightning. And the Lightning have won that series 4-1. The Avalanche night series we just covered. You have the Winnipeg Jets versus the Canadiens, and the Canadiens swept the Jets in that series. So that is the second round right there. So just waiting for the 1 versus 2 in the West matchup, West Division, to see who comes out of that series to advance to, which in essence is the conference finals. The NHL has kind of they do this from time to time. You used to have the Norse Division and the Campbell Division and all these different names. And now it's the North Division, the West Division, and it's not just the conference. So they've kind of they retool their playoff format frequently, unlike other leagues, which I think is kind of neat. It keeps it fresh, but when you're a casual fan, it can be a little bit confusing. But like I said, you have the Canadiens moving on, you have the Lightning moving on, you have the Islanders moving on, and we're just waiting to see what happens with the Avalanche and the Knights. The Golden Knights lead that series 3-2, and right now they're up 2-1 in that series. Again, I'm rooting for the Knights. The Knights and the Blackhawks are my 2 teams in the NHL that I root for. So it is now 2-2. So the Avalanche have tied that game about halfway through the second period. Again, I keep giving kudos to the NHL. Out of all the stuff that's been going on in the last year and a half, they, I think, have come out of this the best from a PR fan standpoint, because they just focused on their game. They focused on hockey. They focused on building their brand and having exciting play. Now, it'll be interesting to see what happens. If you have a Canadian team make the Stanley Cup Finals, they're still a little more locked down when it comes to like fans. Than in the States here. So it'll be interesting to see if maybe they loosen up and allow more fans in their arenas, like for the Stanley Cup Finals. But that's where we are when we come to the NHL. And again, it'll be interesting to see, because I would love to see the Golden Knights win a Stanley Cup. So moving on now to probably, let's go to the MLB. We'll go Major League Baseball here. Again, without Lonewolf, it's kind of going to be a shorter show, but that's okay. We'll make it through. Shorter shows are okay sometimes. Right now, we are reaching that, I don't know if you call it the halfway point of the MLB season, but you're getting that, midsummer play. Most teams have, it looks like, just over 60 games in, so we're not quite halfway. Some teams have less because they had early games that were canceled because of COVID concerns, but most teams are right around 60 games in or more. And right now, your division leaders are the Tampa Bay Rays, the Chicago White Sox, the Oakland Athletics, the New York Mets, the Milwaukee Brewers and Cubs are tied, and the San Francisco Giants. And when we look at these, I think, and we'll talk about more about this stuff as the summer goes on. Myself and Lone Wolf will talk about this. I think I'm a little surprised with the Giants. I didn't think they would be that good. I mean, you have the Dodgers there and the Padres there. That are two of the better teams in Major League Baseball, in second and third. And then you have, and I think everybody thought the Cubs would be better, the Cardinals would be better, but again, the Reds had a lot of high expectations again. Well, they're still under 500, and they went in the last 10. They went 7-3. So, it's interesting. I thought the Brewers would be better. I didn't think they would be first place at this point in the season. I thought they'd maybe be right around 500. If they could get a few breaks their way, they'd be in that wild card discussion. But as of right now, they would be in the playoffs, I believe. So, that tells me there, and they've kind of changed their philosophy. For a long time, when you had Prince Fielder and Ryan Braun and all those kind of big names in Major League Baseball for a while, they were an offensive team. They tried to just outscore you, and then they tried to patchwork their pitching. They made the trade for Sabathia, which got them into the playoffs, but it didn't turn into a championship. They have now developed pitching. Their offense is not as good, but their pitching is a lot better. And so it'll be interesting if they can start generating some offense. This team could be a team to watch. Now, again, we have a long way to go. They've only played 62 games. They have 100 games to go. But if they can continue to play well, you just never know. When you're sitting here and you're mid-June and you are in the hunt, it's always a good feeling. And so we will see what we can do. Going over to the NL East, I think, for myself, I think that, where the Mets are at is kind of a little bit surprising. I thought the Braves would be better than they are, and I thought the Nationals would be better. So that's kind of interesting. Going over to the American League, nothing's really too surprising in the American League East. You have four out of the 5 teams above 500. The crappy thing is, for those teams, you got 4 out of 5 teams over 500. You got Toronto Blue Jays sitting there at 31-28, 6 games back. Well, if you're 31-28 in the National League, you're only like 2-3 games back. So, and right now, they're not even in the, wouldn't even be in the playoffs because you have the Yankees in front of them and the Red Sox in front of them. And then you go down to the Central Division, you got the White Sox in the lead, you got the Indians in second place at 32-27. So, the American League has some really, really good teams. Then you go down to the West, you have the Oakland Athletics at first, and then you have the Astros at 35-26 in second. So, the American League has a lot of good teams, but then they also have some of probably the worst teams in baseball. You got the Rangers, who are, already 13 games back. You got the Twins, which is surprising. I thought the Twins would be much better than they are, 13 games back. And then you got the Baltimore Orioles, who are 16 games back. So, again, quite interesting. Not too many surprises, like I said, in the American League. The biggest one, I thought the Twins would be a lot better than they are at this point in the season. But I don't follow baseball too much, so those are just my observations. Now, the big story out of the Major League Baseball, we talked about this last week with the Giants with their pride uniforms, forcing their players to wear those, and the implications that could have down the line. The other big story there is that a group from Atlanta filed a lawsuit against Major League Baseball to return the All-Star game to Georgia. And that lawsuit was rejected by a district judge. I'm sure that this will get appealed. This is going to get interesting. I had a feeling that something like this may happen when you tell a arena or a city that we are going to hold an event there. Those cities, those businesses, and all those things around there start making preparations for that. Whether it's starting to order inventory, hiring more and training staff, upgrading their infrastructure, and then to have that pulled out is going to cause unforeseen financial damages. And the lawsuit was rejected because the lawsuit didn't provide proof of any loss. Well, there's no loss at this time. They can't put we lost this much revenue. You don't know how much revenue you're actually going to get. The premise is that you were promised this event that could bring in revenue for businesses and the city, and now it's not. So I am sure that is going to be appealed if it can be. I'm not sure how it works at the U.S. district level if a case is rejected. I am sure there could be either an appeal or an amendment and it refiled. I don't think that's the last we're going to hear of it. But it's going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting to see how this works. Again, I don't think it's as done. I think Major League Baseball is in for a long battle here. In regards to moving the All-Star game out of Atlanta over something that had no impact on the game itself, what was going on there. So that is the current status of Major League Baseball. Finally, moving on to the NBA playoffs. Going into tonight, we had some very lopsided series going on. And some have continued and some have gotten more interesting. You have the Phoenix Suns, who have taken a 2-game lead over the Nuggets, but beaten the Nuggets 123-98. I'm telling you right now, the Suns are for real. I called it last year. Lonewolf will even protest to this, is that this was the team that if I was a GM, that I could pick that was an up-and-coming team. The Suns were the team that I picked. And if they continue to play like this, they're going to the NBA Finals. And it's Chris Paul has summoned the fountain of youth, and I think his veteran leadership has really elevated the Phoenix Suns to where they're at. They're just playing unbelievable basketball right now, and why wouldn't you be? You just took out LeBron James and the Lakers, and are playing with a ton of confidence. So we will see what happens there. In the other West semifinal series, you have the Utah Jazz and the Clippers. The Jazz are up 1-0. Game 2 is in progress right now. And you have the Jazz up 10-2 in the first. Really early in that game though. And you know what? I'm not gonna count the Clippers out until the Jazz win the series. Because I thought the Clippers were done against the Mavericks and they came back and they won that series. So anything can happen there. The Clippers are a very talented team. I just think the Jazz and the Suns, I think, have been on a collision course all year to make it to the conference finals to see who is going to return to the NBA Finals for the first time in a long time. It has been a super long time for both franchises to be in this situation. I will point out, though, that the Utah Jazz uniforms are quite interesting. And I know, teams change colors all the time, but black, orange, and yellow, that's a huge change from when Karl Malone and John Stockton were there. I will tell you that. So that's kind of interesting. That's more of a eye opener for me than the play on the court. So yeah. But going to the East, this is I think really the conference that people are looking at. Because I think most people will agree that whoever comes out of the East is probably the favorite to win the title out of any of these four. Well, maybe not Atlanta, but between Philadelphia, Brooklyn, and Milwaukee, one of those three teams, I think everybody believes is the favorite to win the title. Right now in the Philadelphia matchup, you have that series is tied 1-1. So Atlanta did steal a game in Philadelphia. I guess we'll see what happens there. I really, like I said, I think if Embiid is not 100%, Atlanta has a good shot winning that series in 6 or 7. If Embiid can play and can get healthy and can play to his max potential, I believe that Philadelphia will win that series. But the series everybody's talking about, and the series that is near and dear to myself and Lonewolf, then Brooklyn Nets versus the Milwaukee Bucks. Going in tonight, Brooklyn led that series 2-0, and the first 2 games were not competitive at all. Brooklyn blew the doors off Milwaukee, and I was shocked. And kind of, it's over. The Bucks looked disinterested in the first 2 games. They didn't look like they wanted to really be on the court, and looked like they didn't believe they had a chance to win. And tonight, playing at home, they finally played defense. They showed that you can slow down this Brooklyn offense. Held Brooklyn to 83 points. They ended up winning that game 86-83. It was 86-80. Brooklyn must have hit a last-second 3 as time expired. But the Bucks get back in the series at 2-1. They have to play this kind of defense. They have to play gritty. The way you're going to beat this Brooklyn team is to be physical with them. They don't want to play physical. There's a reason they went and got Blake Griffin. They feel Blake Griffin can be that physical presence they need inside. But if you have 2 or 3 guys that can be physical on defense, That is the key to beating Brooklyn. And they have to be able to do that. And they have the players to do that. But they have to bring this defensive mentality every game. So, um, as of right now, Brooklyn still has the edge because Milwaukee, even if Milwaukee holds serve on Sunday, ties the series at 2, it's now basically a 3-game series, and they have to win a game in Brooklyn. You have to. Can they? Yes, they've done it. Will they? I don't know. I will say this: much better effort tonight. And the great thing is, Giannis wasn't even the leading scorer, and we talked about that last week when we previewed this series. Is that that is where Milwaukee is good, that they can have more than Giannis, but at the same time, you need Giannis to be the guy. He is the 2-time reigning MVP, Defensive Player of the Year. So we'll see as we move along there. But the Milwaukee Bucks beat the Brooklyn Nets to get back in the series, and we will see where we go from there. Like I said, without Lone Wolf here, this is a much quicker, shorter show, because talking to myself isn't a whole lot of fun. So we are getting close to the end of what I have had on the agenda for the night. So what that brings us to, everybody,
hello? So do we have everybody?
Let's see, is Butthead here?
Damn it, Beavis, I'm right here.
Oh, yeah, there you are.
Well, we're making a movie.
And it's gonna be on Paramount.
is our Beavis comment of the week. Now, we talked about this earlier in the show. Julio Jones on what he does for the Tennessee Titans. And this is one of the responses that I feel is the Beavis comment of the week. So we will wait. I'm going to play the clip a little bit before, through the Beavis comment of the week, and go from there.
Actually root for, they're tier 2. But who's in tier 2 with the Ravens? Cleveland Browns. Respect. Mm-hmm. Indy, we'll see, Carson, but y'all right there. The squad is there. Miami, 10 games. Y'all talk about Tua didn't play well, or we'll see what they do this year. And Tennessee, but they're stuck in tier 2, and they're not even top tier 2, and they're not even top of tier 2. They're still in the same place. It's just a splashier look with Julio Jones on the roster.
Okay. I like your take, but I disagree with it fervently. I think Julio Jones makes the Tennessee Titans bona fide contenders, not just in the AFC, but in the entire NFL. Julio Jones makes the Titans the most potent offense in the NFL. I say it for this reason.
Come on.
When you talk about the Chiefs, yes, they have Tyreek Hill, they have Travis Kelce. But again, you can sit in your 2 high safety looks. You can double Tyreek Hill, double Travis Kelce. You may not be able to stop them, but you at least have a game plan that's functional and that works. When you talk about the Tennessee Titans, keep 2 safeties high. Derrick Henry will do what he always does, rush for 150 yards, lead the NFL in rushing once again. Okay, bring a safety down low to stop Derrick Henry, which is what the common sense decision is. And A.J. Brown, who's gone for 2,000-yard seasons in his first 2 seasons, and Julio Jones, who led the NFL historically in receiving yards over a 6-year period, will go crazy. But the biggest issue is this. We all watched that Logan Paul Floyd Mayweather fight yesterday.
Yes,
we're going to talk about that at length.
Yes, we are.
If you're Logan Paul, you'd rather fight Floyd Mayweather than fight Deontay Wilder, because though Floyd Mayweather is a...
So it's getting a little long-winded here. But the Beavis comment of the week Julio Jones on the Tennessee Titans makes them bona fide Super Bowl contenders in the most potent offense in the NFL. I am sorry, that is absolutely not true. Julio Jones is not a receiver that is going to demand a double team anymore. A.J. Brown, maybe. I don't see this being a dynamic offense. If I am going up against Tennessee Titans, I am still stopping Derrick Henry. I am making Ryan Tannehill beat me. There's a problem with saying that this would be the most potent offense in the league. You have Ryan Tannehill as your quarterback. Like I said, he is a nice quarterback. He is not an elite quarterback. I don't see it. I don't see how that would be the most potent offense in the NFL. And for that reason, that is the Beavis comment of the week. Yeah, I guess we'll wait and see on that. I don't see it. Julio Jones, older, coming off a injury-plagued season. And it's a hamstring. And it doesn't really matter how long you let a hamstring heal for. As you age and you have injuries to muscle, those muscles do not get healthier as you get older. So we will see what happens there. But again, that is the biggest comment of the week. That is all I have for tonight. Very short show tonight. Again, the show probably we would be going a little bit longer if Lone Wolf was able to be here. But again, he is under the weather. So I am solo for the week. I want to thank you, everybody, for listening. And have a great week. And we will talk to you next time.